This is Nina Lockwood. Welcome to Get Your Happy Back. Stories and insights that will inspire you to find new sources of happiness in your own life. Today I'm joined by Maida Watts, one of my favorite people, whose life has been shaped by both reinvention and resolve. Now in her 80s, her wisdom and her love of life are a beacon for the rest of us. Hello and welcome to Get Your Happy Back. Today, I have an extra special guest, Maida Watts. Hello, Maida.
Hello.
And I am so thrilled that she is on the call today because she and I met a few years ago, I think.
Oh, quite a few, yes.
It doesn't seem like it. And she has so much wisdom, and I'm just in awe of her. So, Maida, I'm going to ask you to share a little bit about your background and we'll go from there.
Well, how far back do you want me to go? I was born and brought up on a farm, which I think shaped a lot of me, the work ethic and the appreciation of everything around me, the nature, the animals, the responsibility. Um, and I grew up, I became a nurse, and which helped me fulfill my need to help others. And when I left nursing, for a variety of reasons, then I went to Healing Touch. I've taken quite a few alternative healing practices, but Healing Touch is the one where you and I met. And also, I felt that it allowed me to do the most for others. And though I don't have my own practice anymore, I'm hoping that it will happen again.
That's wonderful. So, for those of you who don't know, Healing Touch is an energy medicine program which was came out of the nursing continuing ed program, and it is very widely practiced. And it's a very subtle form of healing that takes advantage of the body's own healing properties. So, that was like another lifetime, wasn't
Yeah, yeah.
it?
But I still use it. I have a friend that I went all through the program with who does distance healings for me
Hmm.
since I've been diagnosed with cancer. And that has helped me a lot. And I use it on myself.
Hmm. Me too. Still use it. So one of the reasons I asked May to join me in this podcast is because she is, in my eyes, a woman who is full of wisdom, and she's ahead of me in age. And I think she has a lot to share about getting through the trials and tribulations of life. So this is not about her professional development so much as her inner development. And so, Maida, I'd just like you to share a little bit about the kinds of things you've gone through and what has helped you get through the difficult moments, because this is a conversation about getting our happy back. And like all of us, we've had moments where we dipped down into a very unhappy place and then came up again.
Well, like everyone, I've had a lot of losses in my life and difficult to get through. And as you get older, I think sometimes people tend to look at the negative, and I've always tried to um, actively look on the positive. Whatever is going on in your life that is bringing you down, take a breath, look around. I don't care if it's a flower, a bird, there will be something to be grateful for, and it will lift you up.
So gratitude is a big component that's helped you.
Gratitude, gratitude.
Yeah. One of the things that has happened recently since you brought it up, that your diagnosis of cancer, is how beautifully you have gone into it and gone into what was necessary for you to do. And I wonder if you could talk a little bit about what that experience has been like for you.
Well, um, it was this past June that I was diagnosed. I was totally shocked. And, but the thing that I noticed from the beginning that I kept reassuring my family of is that I was at peace. Frankly, now looking back, I think maybe I was mistaking denial or just a bit inability to grasp what was happening as peace. But I held on to that. And some of it's been difficult, but I'm doing so well that I've really accepted the fact that I am at peace with it.
So it was actually true that
It
you were
really
at peace.
was. It kind of wonked around a little, but
Right.
yeah.
But what do you think has given you that peace?
Acceptance, um, the love and support of my friends and family, and my faith, and just trying to be positive.
Hmm.
Now, I'm not saying that every minute of every day of the last 4 months has been, where is it, five, has been perfect. But you struggle through the times somebody, and maybe it was you, I think it was you, helped me to realize that you can't fight what you're feeling. Just feel it. And it won't last forever. And the feeling will flow. And then, look at that flower, that bird, the horses that I have across the road to look at. They're not mine. Something to give you a, a perspective that is outside of yourself
Mhm.
so that you don't become just absorbed with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Like what and I'm sure we've talked about this before, but it's like clouds passing over the sun. And our sun is whatever our faith is, whatever we're grounded in. And the clouds never stay. They just move off.
Absolutely.
And if we keep focusing on the sun,
Yeah,
we notice that after a while they're gone. So we don't
right.
have to get too absorbed in them. And of course, sometimes we will for a while, but as they say in the Bible, this too shall pass.
You're right. I think that one of the things I have friends who tend always to look on the negative. Everything is the negative. So, because of their example, I really actively try to go the other direction and see what's come that's good at it. And I have found people that work in oncology are very special people.
Mm,
And they give me a lot of support.
that's wonderful. I mean, you've had, from what I recall, a very healthy life. So to be surprised at your young age of this diagnosis, it's a shock.
Yeah, it was a shock. And yes, I've been so fortunate, so healthy, for my age, middle 80s. Um, I've only ever been on one prescription drug, and that's fairly recent for my thyroid. Um, so it was a shock.
Yeah.
And like I said, maybe I was in denial. I didn't realize it because I can't believe this happened to me because I've been healthy all my life. So why not now? But again, it's all perspective and attitude. When I was a nurse, um, I didn't want to judge people. I certainly didn't want to predict anything like that. but I could sort of tell what people were going to get through whatever they were going through, and and those that were going to succumb to it by their attitude.
Mm.
And I've learned a lot about attitude. And it takes work. It doesn't come naturally or easily, but yeah, keep a good attitude. Chin up, as they used to say.
That's right. I'm not even sure that people in a younger generation would even know what that means anymore. You know, we kind of age out of our references,
You
but
know, how many terms I've used in front of my grandchildren, they go, "What?"
right. Yeah, times are changing. Well, you know, I will say this, that when we reconnected after, I don't know, 10, 15 years, quite a long time, and we spoke, and you said, you know, my husband had passed away. I think it was maybe 18 months prior or something like that. You said, I just thought I should figure out what I want to do with my life. And I thought my heart just fluttered because I thought, wow, here's a woman who is not giving up, who has a lot of life in her and wants to keep it going. So, how does that happen?
Well, my husband and I were very young. We got married. We grew up together, raised a family, and then we grew old together. And we were together over 60 years.
Wow.
And when the time was coming closer and he was declining, he used to tell me all the time, you need to be okay. Promise me you will be okay. So, the most important person in my life, I made a promise to, I had to keep it. And it's been quite a roller coaster, but I have to brag a little and say, shortly before my 84th birthday, this past spring, I bought my own house. And
Fabulous.
I I was tired of paying rent. We had to sell the place that we had because it was just too much for us. And um, and I thought, well, I have a new house. Well, not new, but new to me. And so I need to do whatever I have to do to enjoy it as long as I can. I promised him.
Uh, and am I wrong in thinking that in promising him, you were making a promise to yourself?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. And not to say I wasn't completely lost for a while, but I got through it because I promised him I would. I promised him I'd be okay. And so life is never easy. I think that's the thing that younger people today have to realize. It's never easy, but it's worth it.
Mhm.
It's worth whatever work you put into it.
Say a little more about that from your own experience.
Um, wow, I'd have to think about that, Nina. I don't know what to say.
All right. Well, I'll ask you a different question then, uh, based on what I've seen of you since we spent time together, working together. For the listeners, my husband and a friend of ours started an online uh, program called Songshare, and every week we would get together on Songshare on Zoom, and we would sing to one another. And there were a few restrictions, one of which you couldn't have music as a background, so it had to be all a cappella, and you couldn't harmonize with anybody else on the call because there's that delay with Zoom, so it just sounds like cacophony if you try to do it. And so Maida joined us, and everybody, of course, fell in love with her. And what everyone acknowledged to a person was that Meta, when she sang full out and she didn't hold back at all. And she sang a broad range of songs over the period of time that she's been in Songshare. And we all just were in awe because you know how life is. People get worn down by it and they tend to play it safe. And what I see with you, Meta, is that if that was ever the case with you, it certainly isn't the case with you now.
No. Well, I have been accused of being a drama queen. Um, so, um, but I mean, if you're going to do it wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
And music is my thing. I mean, I was a nurse, I was a mother, I was a lot of things. But from the time I was 7 years old, I took piano lessons, even when we didn't have a piano and all I had to practice on was a paper keyboard. Um, but my parents finally realized I was serious. Um, so music just brings something out of me. But Songshare it taught me a lot because it got me out of my comfort zone. I'm a liturgical organist. I'm a classical pianist. I didn't know how to sing Broadway songs and some of these things that we have done. Um, so I just tried to do it with everything I had. And that's what I would encourage people to do. Don't do things half-heartedly. If it doesn't work, okay, that doesn't work. I'm not good at that. Move on to something else. But do it with your whole self.
Have you ever not done it with your whole self and then learned, oh, that wasn't the best way to approach it?
Um, music, talking about, or just anything?
Music or any life?
Yeah, sure. I'm yeah, like anybody. But then I pretty much said, okay, if I'm not going to do it with my whole heart, I have to ask, do I want to do it?
And so you got a pretty clear answer to that.
Yeah, yeah. And Songshare has helped me a lot with my um, self confidence because I need to practice a lot before I perform. And sometimes I didn't get the opportunity to do that. And you perform anyway. But these people are your friends.
Mm,
You don't have to excel. You just have to
right.
show up and do it.
And
And
that's what you
maybe
did.
and maybe that's what, oh, I was so scared those first couple times I did. And that's another thing I think I would like to emphasize. Just because you're scared doesn't mean you shouldn't do it. Try it anyway. I've read the definition of courage isn't that you're not afraid. It's that you're afraid, but you do it anyway. So,
Yeah.
and what's the worst that could happen?
Right. And
I mean,
certainly in that context, in Songshare, there are some, we're not professional singers. There was one.
yes, there was.
And everybody
And
else
his,
just came as they were. And you're right. There is a, I think this is a, Songshare is a great context in which to see that people, even though you might be afraid or you have doubts about what you're doing, everybody there wants you to do well. And they're always looking forward to it because they know if you're a newer person to the group, they know that they've gone through the same kind of jitters before singing to a bunch of strangers on Zoom without any accompaniment, any background. So they all know what that's like. They all know it's like, oh, yikes, am I going to get through this? And then afterwards, everybody is so happy for you because you did it. And that was another part of you that expanded your comfort zone.
yeah.
Have there
Yeah.
been other situations in your life where you've had that kind of experience, where you started out being uncertain or hesitant and found that by persevering and doing it anyway, that it was worth it?
Uh, well, yeah, I spent 6 months winter in South Carolina, 2 years after my husband passed away, house sitting for a friend. And it was the height of the pandemic. And um, everybody around me had COVID and I didn't want to get it. So I was pretty much staying all by myself in a place that was totally strange to me. Had never been there before. And so I decided to try something new. So I went on Amazon and I ordered a whole bunch of paints and canvases and brushes and all that. And I started to paint. And my first couple pictures were just awful. But I thought, who cares? I'm the only one seeing that. So I just kept at it. And some of my pictures are pretty good.
I remember
And
seeing a few.
yeah. So and there's other times being a liturgical organist, my husband and I moved from our hometown and I went out looking for a job at different churches and found one that had very high expectations. And so I was very nervous, but I put into it what I needed to be prepared, and it was a success for me.
Well, I would say, of course, but I'm a little biased.
Well, this was a bigger town. I came from a very, very small mid-Hudson area town. Um, everybody knew each other, and all of a sudden, it's a bigger town, and I don't know anybody. And so somehow I think maybe you feel like you have more to prove in a situation like that.
Mhm.
But who are we proving it to? The people out there or in ourselves?
That's a very good point. And I don't you think that's true of everything that we do?
Everything. Yes. Well, when I became a mother, I was 20 years old and I didn't have a clue. Neither did my husband. We thought we knew everything. We found out we didn't know much at all. But you just get up every day and you do what you think is best, and that's life.
What would you say are the I mean, you've alluded to several of them, of course, but what would you say for someone who is at the point in their life where they're asking a similar question to what you asked when we first reconnected, which is, what do I do with my life? What now? What would you say to them about how to go about recognizing what it is that's calling you?
Don't be afraid to try new things. Don't be discouraged if the new thing doesn't work out. Try something else. Is that the answer? Is that an answer?
That's your
um,
answer, and I think it's a great one. Can you elaborate on it?
well, in our generation, the husband always did the driving. Suddenly, I had to do the driving. Suddenly, my car was needing a great deal of repair, and I needed a new one. Suddenly, I needed a new place to live. Um, I had to figure it out. I didn't have a choice. Um, just be kind to yourself. I like to be kind to others, but it's very important that we're kind to ourselves. And, if one thing doesn't work out, Don't think, oh, I'm no good at anything. Okay, wait, maybe you weren't good at that thing, but keep looking, keep an open mind, and learn to trust yourself. Okay, maybe you have to ask a lot of questions. Maybe you have to look a lot of things up, do a lot of research, but you'll get there. You'll get there.
It's so important to hear someone who's had your rich life experience reminding us of that, because there is so much, I think, especially when you're younger, there is so much pressure to do the right thing, do it perfectly the first time around. And yet, and of course, there are expectations in our professional worlds of meeting the expectations of our boss or of the company in general, right? We all understand that part. But we are also grown up with that same expectations in our schools and oftentimes in our families. They expect us to get straight A's on our report cards, and then we go into the work world and they expect us to exceed the demands that have been made on ourselves, or we'll pay the price for it. And yet, I don't know, I think that that has both good and bad consequences.
I agree.
How would you respond to that?
Well, it makes me think of something that I heard my mother say to me for so many years, for so many times. My parents were German immigrants, new to a small town in the 40s, the early 40s.
Mhm.
Um, they moved to the town in 1939. So Germans were not popular. And my mother used to say to me all the time, be a good girl so they don't think we're bad Germans.
Mm.
And that stuck to me for way too long. Um, all due respect to my loving mother. Um, but I thought I had to be perfect, that I had to appear perfect to everyone. Um, and I obviously was not. And I was not always a good girl. um, and it took a while, a long while, as life moved on, to realize that I didn't always have to be a good girl to please others. I had to be myself to satisfy myself, to please me. My husband helped with that too. He thought I was wonderful.
Well, you are. I think that's a really important point to emphasize, is that there is a trade-off, a big trade-off between the attempt to be perfect and to be a super high achiever based on somebody else's expectations, whether it's the organization that you're a part of or the family that you've been brought up in. But the constant, am I enough, according to somebody else, I think, and I wonder if this was ever your experience, that it takes us away from our own knowing what's right for us and who we really are.
It does. Excuse me. And it's a very important lesson to learn that, and it's not an easy one to learn, but to be true to yourself, which many people a lot wiser, more famous than me, have said, be true to yourself because nothing will seem right. Nothing will seem authentic if you're not.
Yeah. That whole question of authenticity, I think, becomes more important either the older you get, or if you're fortunate enough, the wiser you get, even in your younger years, and realizing that there is this trade off. Because we can say, yes, I'm being authentic because look, here's what I created, but what was the motivation behind that?
Is that a question?
No, it's a more of a rhetorical question
Okay. Yeah.
because it's I see this all the time, and I bet you do too with your family and extended friends and family, that especially for people who are trying to make their way in the world, that it's tough. It's tough because that pressure to conform to society's expectations or professional expectations, as important as they may be, and whatever positive consequences can come out of that, if we don't know what our motivation is, we can lose a sense of who we are.
You're making me, because this happened recently, you're making me think about a conversation I recently had with my 14-year-old granddaughter. Um, she lives in Colorado, and their high school was going to have a homecoming. And two boys had asked her to homecoming, and she hadn't answered them. And she was talking to her dad about it. And I happened to call, and he said, "Here, talk to your grandmother about it. Maybe she has advice for you." So I asked her to tell me about these two boys. She said, "Well, I kind of like the one, but all my girlfriends are saying I should go out with the other." She's 14, because he's taller than I am. And she said, "But the other guy, I think I want to go with him, but all my girlfriends are saying, don't go with him. He's shorter than you." So I talked to her for a while. She did most of the talking, but just tried to help her realize who her girlfriends weren't going to be with either one of them. Well, they'd all be in a group, but who she felt most comfortable with. And she finally decided she wanted the shorter fellas. Um, she wanted to go with him because he got her sense of humor, which I thought was good. So I think that's a process we all need to go through. What are you going to feel most comfortable with? And so she did go with the guy that was shorter than her, and all of her friends are going, "Oh, you're going to look so ridiculous." But fortunately, she made the right decision, and she had a great time. And so I guess he's her boyfriend now. I don't, does that answer the question, or did I get way off the subject?
No, not at all. And I think that all of us can relate to that story, both when we were younger and probably made the wrong decision,
Mm-hmm.
the one that other people expected would be the right thing for us. And we can even take that into our lives at any stage, really, any decision that we're making. Who do we want to spend time with? Do we want to spend our time with somebody who is well known, well regarded, but may not be a good match for us? Not a bad person, of course, but it doesn't resonate with us. It doesn't make us feel good to be in their presence.
I learned that lesson in high school myself because I graduated from eighth grade from a two-room school, four grades in each uh, classroom. And so when I went to high school, 7 miles away, in an actual town, um, I was uh, overwhelmed and very interested in becoming friendly friends with the clique that was popular. And, we all know who we're talking about, the kind of girl we're talking about. And little by little, I realized it wasn't for me. And they really didn't accept me for who I was either. Um, and it was a hard, hurtful lesson. But um, I learned it and I stopped trying. And the friends that I ended up with were really true good friends.
So important. A lot of times we're going so fast in our lives, and fortunately, in your case, you're slowing down a little
Oh, yeah.
bit, that we don't take that time to stop and say, is this really what I want? And one of the great things that I admire about you is that you have taken the time over your life to really evaluate where you were and who you were with and the choices that you were making. To me, all add up to the person that you are now and having the attitude that you have towards life, which is very life affirming, very grateful, very upbeat. And I don't think that your family would adore you as much as they do if you didn't have this way of seeing the world.
Well, I'm so fortunate in my family. I They have just helped me through this hard time, losing my husband, taking care of him for the 3 or 4 years while he was declining. It was very difficult. And then he was suddenly gone. And not everybody has that family support that I have.
Mm.
So I'm extremely grateful. My my advice to someone who doesn't have it is to find somebody, some group, something, a Nina Lockwood, to help you through the times that you're struggling with. And just trust yourself. You will get through it.
Mm, that's wonderful. And thank you.
Well, you helped me so much when I was reeling from, I didn't know how to live in a world that my husband wasn't in.
Mm.
And he was my best friend. And you helped me. That course I took with you. And everybody needs a little help. Just don't try to do it all yourself.
Words of wisdom. Really, I think it's I'm so glad you said that because so many of us think, for those of us who still recognize this reference, that we're told we have to pull ourselves up by our own bootstraps, gut it out, just suck it up.
There's always somebody else to help lift you.
Yeah, that's really wonderful.
But you have to be willing to go put yourself out there to find them.
Mhm. Yeah, very true.
And
Sometimes
that's
we
courage
just have to
too.
get to that point.
Right. And that takes courage.
Mhm.
Takes courage. When I went to South Carolina, I remember driving out of the driveway thinking, why did I pack the car and start out? I can't drive to South Carolina. Um, but I decided to not worry about anything ahead of me except the road that I could see. And I did it.
Yes, you did.
Nobody was more surprised than I was. So, just take the step, take the step. There will be, if you step off that cliff, not literally, um, and take that first step, just trust there will be a bridge. There will be something that will get you through it, get you over whatever problems you have. But you're never going to get over it if you just stand on that cliff and go, I can't.
What is that saying? Leap and the net will appear.
Yeah, right. See, I use too many words.
No, no, you used your own words.
So it's my husband's favorite saying, and we have signs everywhere, all of us, um, was life is good. And sometimes it isn't. sometimes life is awful. Sometimes it's just, you feel it's impossible to go on. But your heart is still beating, you're breathing, your feet can still move forward. Um, and then it's going to be good again. So just work through the hard times. We're all going to have them.
Amen, sister. Oh, Meta, thank you so much for spending this time with me.
Well, thank you for inviting me. I know it took me a long time to say yes. Um, and I appreciate it and I'm honored.
Well,
Thank you.
thank you. And thank you for sharing your wisdom with us because it's been hard earned and you're such a shining light.
Well, thank you. When you said you wanted me to share my wisdom, I went, what wisdom? I don't, but thank you for honoring that.
Thank you. And for those of you who are listening or maybe watching us, thank you for joining us. We really appreciate your being here, and we will see you on the next episode. So, bye for now. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to hit subscribe and leave us a comment. Your comment helps me reach more listeners. Thank you.